I guess we'll start with Scapegoats. I'll start with what Scapegoats is, how it came about, how I had to delay it for about 6 months because why did I forget his name? Whoever our prime minister was before kind of ruined my fucking plans and I was really pissed off. So I had to delay everything. I started writing Scapegoats in August. So this was just after Burden and I just finished Burden and I thought, boom, gonna write Scapegoats. This is gonna be more of like a rocky song. I'm not even gonna try and be like, yeah, I had this really grandiose idea. I just listened to Placebo a bit more and I was like, kind of want to write a song like that. All right, cool. So started writing the chords in August, and yeah, it just was really simple. I'm not going to go into music theory with you all because you will get very bored. But it's something called Four to the Floor, and it's a very simple 1, 2, 3, 4 song. And I thought this will do, this will be fine. I started writing the lyrics in September, and I just was very blunt about it. I have a background in poetry, so I always start off songs with poetry, and then I go into what the song is about. And I just started off with a feeling of like hopelessness and despair. um Ironically, the actual chorus didn't come till much later. I just started writing loads and loads and loads, sort of what you call a stream of consciousness. Just started writing loads of words about despair and how people have been discarded and how marginalized people have really, really, really taken the brunt. And whenever people want to go back to normal, there's always an abnormal, and people really suffer. Anyway, October happened, and things obviously got very bad. And I I have a really like sort of moral stance that I will never exploit. I'm going to say a trigger warning for genocide as I'm going to go on here. But I will never exploit people's plight because I'm not a dickhead. And I always I think it's a tough line to sort of sorry, it's a tough thing to balance because if something affects you, I feel like, yeah, you should say it, you should speak up for people and whatever. But to then do the whole, I'm gonna speak for this issue for money and I'm gonna do this for money, it's a bit awkward, and I don't like doing that. I mean, I literally cussed out this girl from London because she wrote a song for Black Lives Matter, and it went on the FIFA soundtrack, and I was a bit like, "Fuck you." Yeah, so like I said, I have a very strong moral stance on what I should write about, what I don't want to write about, and things. But at the same time, I I am thinking more about like what I want to do with my music. And at the time I was working with this mass block and I wanted to sort of put my activism into my music. Um so it felt like it was a hard thing to do. And what I ended up doing was just getting rid of the lyrics. I was like, nah, that don't need that. That applies that. Don't need that. And it just became one verse, one chorus. Which again is, if you know me, I'm a chatterbox. So I was like, this is such a new, it was a new playing field when it came to making the song. Um but yeah, no, I'm really proud of it, and that was like how the song got made. I just want to read out this comment here. It says, feel that so much. I feel so objectified and treated like social projects, but leftists won't hear me, lol. Social currency have folks in the trenches. Yeah. And hold that thought because I'm getting to that in a second. Um, so yeah, so that was how the song got like physically made. I won't get too much into the process of it, but like a quick little tangent. Making songs as a black woman is really hard. But making songs as a black woman who doesn't do R&B or sort of like the genres that black people are supposed to do. And I say that in the Spotify sense, not in like just the general industry, is even worse. Because when I tell you that I've had so many people who I've just approached and I said, like, hey, could you do the guitar for me? Could you do the bass for me and whatever? And they'll be like, yeah, sure. Won't get back to me for weeks. Excuse me. Or if I say, yeah, could you do the production for me? I get it back and it's done half-heartedly. but what I will say is that this time around, I put on my little bitch or my little bitch hat, and I've just demanded, like, you will do this for me. I want this done by this time, or we're gonna have a problem. Like, I think the attitude of the song kind of came out a little bit, which I'm really proud of myself. Like, yeah, this is what we like to see, and then she's being a bitch. But like I said, the song got made and it was about to come out, blah blah blah. So it was actually supposed to come out July 4th. And I thought that would be like funny because ha ha ha. What day is July 4th? Like American Freedom, whatever day, I can't remember. Something to do with America. And I thought that would be a funny day to release a song. Yes, the Richie Team that called an election. I thought I'm not dealing with this shit. So I just called it a day. Um but yeah, so I thought let me just leave it. And it actually I think it was probably the best thing to do anyway, because lo and behold, I ended up moving. I ended up getting sicker. That did all work. That was fun. But I won in that fight. I did win to work from home. Um, and all that bullshit. So I think I'm glad I released it in October. Um, I guess um the inspiration of Scapegoats has quite a few people. I don't know if anyone has heard of East Tremor, um, Susie and the Banshees, obviously Placebo. Um, but there is like quite a few people that really inspired the actual creation of the song. One of them was Nirvana, but I have a very I like Nirvana, but like we do not speak a bad word about Nirvana in my family's home for some reason. Like my family just loves Nirvana, but I do think that is because um when Nevermind came out, my mum was what, 16, 17? So that was like her teenage angst album. And when I was it does give 90s. Yeah, I think mum was like subtly in my ear when I mentioned I was making a rock song. Um, and basically the Nirvana story I always tell is when I was younger, I was listening to music. I think I discovered Courtney Love for the first time. And I was like, ooh, Courtney Love, who's this person? My mum just said, oh, she does music. She's married to Kurt Cobain. Like it was really late at night. And then she also said, I also asked her, okay, who's Kurt Cobain? Like, I don't know who this Kurt Cobain person is. When I tell you, she kind of looked over. She might have been a little bit wine drunk, to be honest, but she looked over and was like, okay, we need to give you an education. We need to give you a bit of a learning of this white band. And then the next day, I remember because I was like 10 years old, she just left the house. Like, didn't give me a, Anusha, I'm going out or whatever. She just left. And I thought, okay, peculiar. But that was like the first time I'd ever been home alone. And when she came back, she basically brought me Nevermind the CD, and she brought me the In Vitro the CD as well. Now, again, trigger warning for words, but I'm not going to go into it too much for rape. But basically, there's one song called Rape Me on In Vitro. And I remember looking at mum like, Mummy, I'm 10 years old. I don't, why do you want me to listen to this song? And she sat me down and was like, Anusha, think about the lyrics. And she went all like music bro on me. She was like, think about the lyrics, think about the music. And I was like, okay, cool. And like since then, I guess I've always been insufferable since then. I don't know. But it was one of those things where I just thought, this is so like, I don't know. It was so different. But yeah, that's my Nirvana story. My mom left. My mom decided to give me a lesson. But it's definitely. Do you know what? Smashing Pumpkins are interesting because I really like them, and I've got one of their albums, and I listen to them a lot, but I couldn't name a song. Like if you said you should name a Smashing Pumpkins song, I would look at you blankly. I think because I listened to a lot of people used to remix Smashing Pumpkins songs when YouTube first came out, and I've got a remix of Jasmine Sullivan and oh, I can't remember which. I'll find it. It's on my computer. I'll find it in a second. I've got a remix of Jasmine Sullivan and something else, and I really want to do a song like that. So, Smashing Pumpkins was definitely a inspiration, but it wasn't something that I will say one thing about Scapegoats that is really peculiar, and being a musician, um, is when you mention that, like, oh, I'm a disabled musician, or oh, I'm doing a song about this. Let me tell you, the amount of people that just won't chat to you, it is peculiar. Like, like I don't know if you see musicians online or you follow indie musicians, but a lot of um you get a lot of people that are like, oh, like I'm on BBC Introducing. I mean, I would never want to be on the BBC anyway, so fuck the BBC. But like, I'm on BBC Introducing. I got introduced by this person. When you do, like, when you mention that, like, oh yeah, I'm a disabled musician and whatever, like, no one played the music, and it is very like it's stark. Because when I don't mention anything and I just say, oh, this song is a rock song that's about angst, people are like, oh yeah, everyone loves that and whatever. The moment you mention that you're disabled, or you mention that it's about COVID, media blackout, and it's very peculiar. So yeah, this is why I like you lot. Is